Well, I might as well go ahead and say something because you're going to bring it up anyway about my glasses matching my blouse. Not bad, not a bad match. I didn't have anything very close to the color of my glasses, and they're so pretty. I like to wear them. But you see the little blouse I've got on matches the edging really good, and I bought this blouse at Goodwill. Now, don't turn your nose up about shopping at Goodwill, because the best of them shop at Goodwill. And sometimes you can get some really good buys. Most of the tops you've seen me wear and that you complimented me about actually came from a Goodwill store. It's one of those things that you go in and there's just rack after rack after rack of pretty blouses and jackets. And you can see them out of the corner of your eye, even though that's not what you went in to look for. But I'll guarantee you, you can't walk out of the store without going through some of those outfits. I won't say outfit, mostly blouses. And I have gotten some really good buys. Most of them cost about $4. Well, this one's extra pretty. It shows up real nice. Actually, it's prettier in person than it is on the screen. But I get to wear my glasses and my pretty earrings with it. What more could I ask? They kind of improve my looks a little bit. And y'all keep telling me how pretty I am, and I'm starting to almost believe you, because I know you don't have an ulterior motive for telling me how pretty I am, because I'm not going to give you anything. I don't have anything to give. You have to put up with me. You're giving to me. Yeah, that's the best part. You are giving to me, because I get to read all those comments. Every now and then I get one that's kind of snotty, you know. You think, oh, they got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. They can live with it. I can live with it. So we just ignore those people. So the rest of us are having a good time. I think it was one of your comments today that pushed me a little bit into doing this video. I've gotten in the habit now where I think I have to do one every day. And I'm going to run out of material. Don't run out of talk. I just run out of something to talk about. So, someone was talking about the old family reunions. Yeah, I went to a lot of those family reunions. I just wish I'd paid more attention to what the elderly people were saying. And a lot of them I didn't know who they were. They, of course, were cousins. Lots of cousins. And this was my mother's side of the family. We never did get together with my daddy's side of the family because they had moved to California, and they were in Texas, they were in Oklahoma. Most of them had died off. There just weren't any left. But we went to Mama's family reunions. And I remember as a kid, I've got one picture at my uncle's house. And there's that whole crowd. I don't know where they got those big long tables back then, but there were long tables in front of the house, right in front of the front porch. And everybody was standing behind the tables. So I could go through and name everybody in that picture. And those were the reunions where they brought the fried chicken and the biscuits. They brought the country ham, beef roast, anything. Oh, they were good cooks. They were country folks. The green bean cooked half a day. You had the potatoes on top of the green beans. In the summertime, of course, you had plenty of corn, lots of corn. Anything that had been grown in the gardens, you had on that table. So with all this food, my sister and I looked up, and Daddy had gone through the line, had his plate piled high with food. Mama always took fried chicken. Yeah, sometimes she'd take potato salad. She was such a good cook. She might take green beans. It didn't matter what it was always good. My aunts were good cooks. And we both looked over at Daddy's plate. Now, I don't know if any of you can remember when you would see the ads in magazines and the Sunday issue of the newspaper. But right on top of his plate were 2 big slices of Spam. Do you remember those days? Spam. Oh, my mother wouldn't buy Spam back then. That was a no-no. We didn't eat that kind of stuff. That wasn't good for you. But there with the fried chicken and the beef roast and the ham on top of Daddy's plate was Spam. My sisters and I never forgot that. I don't know if you can appreciate the humor in it, but we teased him for years after that, asking Dad if he wanted to have some Spam. I remember also on Sunday afternoon, well, it wasn't Sunday, it was usually Saturday afternoon, Daddy would take Mama for a drive out in the country. They knew a few families lived way out in the country, had 200 or 300 acres of land, and they farmed. And they'd visit them on the weekends, and we'd hop in the car. That's when Daddy owned the big Commodore Hudson, great big long. That car was the same color as my blouse. And it would be so hot. No air conditioning in the cars in those days. Roll all the windows down, you just let your hair fly. So we'd go out in the country. We'd stay a little while, and while Mama and Daddy talked to the old folks, we kids went out to the barn. Oh, that was fun. Because we didn't have animals. We had a dog. Now, when I say we had a dog, let me tell you, we always had a dog, but that dog never entered the house. That was a no-no. No dog, no cats in the house. They had their own quarters down under the house, which was what you'd call a dirt floor basement. That's where they stayed at night. And they got to run loose during the day in those days. So we got out on that farm. Oh, gosh, those baby calves. Oh, they were the cutest things ever was. But the new baby pigs, they were just about this long. Oh, and they were so wiggly and so cute. And you try to hold one of them, and it wiggled right out of your arms. You couldn't get a good hold on it. But there were 3 of them. We got ready to go home. Mama, can we take one of the pigs home with us? We're going to take a pig home with us? Where are we going to put that pig? Well, it can stay in the house. You don't keep pigs in houses. We don't have a pig pen. Oh, Mama, please, please, Mama, let us take the baby pig home with us. Well, you know who won that argument. But we tried our darndest to talk Mom into letting us take a baby pig home with us for a pet. Now, that would have been one pet that would have had stayed in the house. But not as long as Mama was living there. So, no, we never got to take any, except Grandma. This is long before I was born. They'd go visit Grandma up in Bell County. And my older sister, she was the gentle girl in the family. She was the sweet one in the family. And Grandma would always give her a couple baby chicks. She got to put them in a shoebox, and she carried the baby chicks home. Oh my gosh, she took such gentle care of those chicks. But when they got a little bigger, and they were able to run around in the yard, we didn't have any place to fence it in. So they would get out of the yard, and before you know it, maybe a dog or something had caught our baby chicks. So, had to put a stop to bringing home baby chicks from Grandma's. So that's as close as we ever got to farm life. It's just getting to go visit my parents' old friend from their younger days. Then on those Saturday afternoons when we finished, Daddy'd drive through the country, and you always had these little country stores. You know the kind, they had just one big room, and you had the wooden steps up to the long porch across the front, big post on the porch. And there was always a couple of bushels of apples on that porch. I don't know why, but apples were never so appealing as they were when you went to a country store and saw them sitting on that porch. You had to have a big apple. And apples were bigger than they are now. Really big. Daddy would go in. We hadn't had lunch. He'd go in the store, and he'd come out with, I don't know, remember what. We drank RC Colas then. Come out with RC Colas, some crackers, and Vienna sausage. Now, if you're country folk, you call them Viennas. Yeah, a lot of people call them Viennas. But the Vienna sausages. There again, they were kind of like Spam. Who eats Vienna sausages? We did. We loved them. We loved them with those crackers. They were better than T-bone steak when you were out in the country in the hot, dusty, windy days. Those little country stores were on dirt roads. They weren't paved highways, paved roads. They were winding dirt roads. But they were more fun to go into. They carried the same things that the stores in town did, except they may have had their own fresh farm vegetables, their peppers, the corn, the apples, things like that, potatoes. And we loved to go in those stores. Now, when I moved away from Lexington, I moved back home one time. I had a friend. I wasn't working. My friend pulled up beside my house. What are you doing? I'm fixing some sandwiches for lunch. Come on, we're going for a drive. Well, wait a minute. Let me fix the sandwiches. We'll just take them with us. She knew of a little country store. Oh, it was probably about 15 miles from where I lived. She said, "You've got to see this store." Okay. She drives out in the country, dirt road, little store just like I described to you. It also had the bushel of apples sitting on the front porch. And before we left, of course, we couldn't leave without buying one of those apples. They were so juicy and sweet. But we got in that store. Now, I was in my dream world. Right a half a block away, a new convenience store had opened up. You know what a convenience store can do to a little country store? Puts them right out of business. This little store had been put out of business, and Grandma, who had been working that store for so many years, she couldn't give it up. She just couldn't. She kept that store open. And she had a daughter who would come and stay in the store 2 or 3 hours a day just for Grandma's sake. Because there were still workers who drove that road every day, and they would stop at that little store and they would get a sandwich and an apple. The little old lady had her cheese and her bologna and her pickle loaf, and she had the sliced tomatoes, and she would pick those workers a sandwich. They'd get them something to drink, reach for an apple on the front porch, and that was their lunch for the day. So Grandma kept that door open, and that was about the only business she was getting. But we went in the store, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Everything in that store looked like it dated back to 1930. She let me go in the back room where they stored their supplies, and there were shelves of shoes in boxes. Children's shoes, ladies' shoes, men's shoes. I was going from box to box. Those shoes had been made in the 1930s. The leather had sat there so long it was stiff as a board. I bought 3 pairs of shoes. I bought a child's pair, and I bought 2 pairs for Jan, my daughter, and another pair that I thought my sister would wear. And they were brown leather with a dull green suede on the side. They laced up, and they had a heel about that high. They were the cutest shoes you ever saw. I had half them, and they were stiff too, but I knew that you could take them to the shoe shop, and the shoe repair man could loosen them up, soften up that leather. I bought baby stockings. You know the kind of stockings I'm talking about? Those little, not socks, but those stockings that came all the way up to the diaper and to your diaper shirt. You know, you had a little undershirt. So those stockings got pinned to the undershirt so that they up. And I've still got a pair of those stockings. They're so cute. I love to use them at Christmas to hang up on a mantle. I don't have a mantle anymore, but they were the highlight to me, seeing those little baby stockings hanging on the mantle at Christmas time. So not only that, they just let me loose on those shelves. I was buying notions. I was buying rickrack and lace trims. I can't tell you the little thing that I was picking up for nearly nothing. My friend, she had 2 little girls. Well, getting wintertime. She opened a box, and there was long underwear. Now, you know what I'm talking about? Underwear that buttons down the front. It's long sleeved. And in the back, it either had elastic in the back, so you drop the flap down, or it had buttons across the back when you had to go to the bathroom. She said, these would make the cutest pajamas for the girls, one-piece pajamas. I said, get them and we'll trim them in lace. So she got them, and I trimmed the neck. Down the front where the buttons were, I had lace. And on the back flap, we put lace across the back. And then you had a little tiny ribbon bow. They were so cute. So that's the sort of thing we did at that little country store. And it was so unfortunate that the lady had to close her store after so many years. But when you go out exploring like that, it's amazing the things you can find and how long they've been there, and you never knew anything about them. You learned the history while you were in the store. Now, my friend and I, the last time we went, I can remember, as we walked out the door, we reached in the big bushel basket, and we told the lady we want an apple. And on our way home, we ate our apples. Those seemed like simple things, and they were simple things, but they were so enjoyable. I just see a little store like that. If you get off the main highway, it's the only way you're going to see them. But when I see one, I want to stop. Definitely want to stop. Got to go in that store. Got to see it. Now, Jan and I went to Tennessee once, and we were going to a funeral. So we were going back roads. We didn't know where we were. And there on, let's see, it was where the road divided. There was the old country store, and it had a big sign across the top. You knew it was a country store. We got to go in. We went in. Now, this was in January. And back in the back was a big old pot-bellied stove filled with wood, coal, whatever they used. And there were 2 tables sitting back there, and a group of the old farm men, sitting there playing poker in a general store. They also had that big, big cabinet with the glass front where you kept your meat, your bologna and your big roll of cheese. The lady was behind the counter, and she was also frying hamburgers for those men playing poker back there. Well, Jan and I got over in the shelves. Spices here and there. Those spices had been sitting there so long, the dust had never been removed. You could barely tell the price. And of course, we were collecting antiques back then too. So here goes Jan. Goodness, ginger, pepper, all of your different spices. Well, there weren't a lot of them, but she bought the ones they had. some people would turn their nose up to that sort of thing. But I said, Jan, do you want to get a sandwich? She looked in the case and she looked at me and she says, I don't think so. So we left the store and we went on our way south to our funeral. Now that's just a little bit about family reunions and the old country stores, general stores, and how they were just hanging on by a thread before they closed their doors. I remember one family reunion. Oh, we were outside. A lot of people were there. We'd never been to my cousin's house. And everybody brought a dish. Of course, there were at least 4 of my sisters there with me, and Daddy and my brother and my mother. And of course, if there were any little grandchildren, they were there too. So my oldest sister, when I say she's the most particular human I've ever seen when it comes to cleanliness, we teased her all the time. We always said, when she gets to heaven, she's going to be wearing the white gloves, and she's going to give heaven the white glove treatment before she walks through the pearly gates. So I'm not surprised if St. Peter was standing there when she walked through those pearly gates with her white gloves on. But we're at this family reunion, and of course there was a huge dish of banana pudding. Oh, they've got banana pudding back there. As soon as we finished, one of my sisters, she went back, she was the first of us to go back to get some banana pudding. So she came back and she whispered, get your banana pudding on the other end of the dish. Pearlie got her banana pudding with her own spoon. Get your banana pudding at the other end of the dish. Pearlie used her own spoon to get hers. My oldest sister wouldn't touch that banana pudding. We always teased her about that too. But those are the little things you remember about family reunions, and the fact that Aunt Renee could play the piano and Mama could play the piano. Now they learned the old-fashioned way. They played on the black keys. I played on the white keys. I never understood how my mother could play song. Well, if she knew the song, knew the tune, she could play it. So could Aunt Renee. But they didn't use the foot pedals. They weren't taught things like that. They were taught to play the old, tall pump organ. That's what they had in their house. And that's how they entertained their boyfriends when their boyfriends would walk 3 and 4 miles to spend Sunday afternoon with the girls. Pap would let them go in the parlor, and the girls, as long as the girls were playing the pump organ and Pap could hear the music, he didn't think there was any hanky-panky going on. There's always hanky-panky going on when you get a boy and a girl together. But they had Pap fooled as long as one of them was playing the pump organ. Yeah, I'll end my little story with that. I don't know why I even thought to tell that, but those were the old days. And I still miss those country stores. I'd just love to be able to go on a trip, and the only thing we looked for were the general stores on the back dirt roads. But we've got air conditioning in our cars now. Makes it much easier. You have a good night, and let me know what you think about these old silly stories I tell. I really enjoy having you listen to me. I'm going to tell you something. In a couple of days, I've got a surprise for you. So look at my pretty glasses now, and I'll let you see what I'm going to look like in 2 or 3 days from now. So you stay tuned.